Hey guys, it's Joanne here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to cut and sew this hip and butt padded tights you're seeing here on your screen. After sewing, this is exactly what you have, and if you're interested in something like this, watch this video to the end. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do well to click the subscribe button, turn on your post notification bell for more videos, and also share this video if it is helpful so that others can get to see. So without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the tutorial. This is the fabric I'm going to be working with. Okay, this is lycra fabric. It's about 1 yard and it stretches on both ends. You want to get a fabric that stretches like this one here. Okay, since we are sewing a tight, you want it to be really stretchy. So now for you can do 1.5 inch, so you have enough material to go around with. This is the chantilly lace I'm going to be using for the down parts. This is totally optional. If you don't want to use this, you can go ahead and tape the down part after sewing. Okay, so let's get right into the cutting parts. So this is the pattern I've already laid for my tights, and I've taken the necessary measurement, vertical measurement, but I'm going to explain each of them. For this part, it's my from the waist to the hip line, then from the waist to the crouch line, then from the waist to the butt crack line, and also from the waist to my length. So from this butt crack line, I came down by 3 inches. All right, so to make it easier for you, you can also do the same thing from the butt crack line, come down by 3 inches or 4 inches or even 2 inches. It depends on how short you want your tights to be. Okay, now what I'm going to do here is that for this part here, on this part, it is the border line, which is 3 inches by 3 inches. So I'm going to be beginning each of my measurements from the border line. On the crouch line here, I've already taken my crouch measurement, which is my hip divided by 20. Then on this hip line, I am going to come out by 0.25 and make a connection from my crouch line to the 0.25 that I came out to enable me make my curve like curve like this, and I'm going to blend into my crouch line like this. Okay, so guys, I have a detailed tutorial on how to cut a trouser pattern. Okay, if you have not seen that tutorial, please go and check it out. Now on my crouch line, I divided my entire crotch measurement by 2, and I'm going to be making a mark here. Now I'm going to take this measurement, half of the measurement, and I'm going to be repeating it on the length of my tights like this. So after taking this measurement, I'm going to use a straight rule now to connect the 2 points together into a straight line. Now on the waistline, I am going to be taking my waist measurements, but before then I'm going to come here and come in by half of an inch. This is to eliminate any smile line on the tights. All right, so I'm going to connect it back into my crouch line. Okay, now I'm going to use my marker to connect these lines to make it visible for you guys to see. So next thing I'm going to be doing after making this connection will be to take my waist measurements. Okay, so I'm going to be taking my waist measurements divided by 4. So after taking that measurement, I'm going to be imputing on this line. All right, so from the part that I came in by ½ inch, I'm going to be taking my waist measurement from here. I'm going to impute here. Then from this point that I marked, I'm going to be connecting to my hip line. Now on the length of my thigh, I'm going to be taking my thigh measurement. On this part, you're going to measure your thigh and divide by 2 and divide by 4. Okay, measure your thigh and divide by 4. I'm going to be making that division here. As you can see from here, now I'm going to divide again. That is, I'm dividing it into 4. So after dividing it by 4, I am going to be imputing half of the measurement on this part here and half of the measurement on the inseam. Okay, now after this, I'm going to be connecting it using my slight curve on the inseam. I'm going to connect from my crouch to meet to the length, and on the outside I'm going to be connecting from my crouch to meet to the length like this. Next thing I'm going to do is that on the waist part, I'm going to come up by ½ inch. All right, and blend it, connect my waistline. Okay, blend it back into my waistline like this. Okay, so I'm going to make this connection and blend it back into my waistline like this. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is to label this as the hip line, crotch line, and this is the butt crack line. So the last line here would be my length. Okay, So this is the back bodice I'm going to be measuring right now. From here, I'm going to come in by 2 inches. I'm using a contrasting marker for this so you guys can see, and on the crotch line, I'm going to come in by 1 inch. So I'm simply going to connect these 2 points together into a straight line. After doing this, I'm going to come to the hip line and take my hip measurements. So from my measurement will start from here. Okay, my hip measurements divide by 4. I'm going to be imputing whatever I have here. And on the crotch line, I'm going to be repeating the same thing. Divide my hip by 4. And whatever I have, I'm going to be imputing that measurement here. So after doing this, I'm going to be extending this line and this line. So now on the waist part, from this part, from this line here, I'm going to be coming up by 2 inches. Okay, I'm going to extend my waist like this. So I'm going to be taking my waist measurement now from here. I'm going to be dividing that measurement by 4. Whatever I have, I'm going to be imputing it like this. Okay, guys, have you seen the way I'm placing my tape in a slanty form? Also, place your tape like that. Ensure it is slanty. So from here, I'm going to come up by half of an inch, and I'm going to be connecting this like this. Okay, now I'm going to now confirm this measurement and I am on point. Now I'm going to be use my straight tool to connect to my hip line, and also connect. You can use a slide curve or a straight, just follow your shape and connect. So on the length, I'm going to be coming in by half inch, and I'm going to connect it back to my crotch line. Now I'm going to blend this line like this, blend this crotch and the hip line like this. So now guys, I'm going to be taking my crouch measurement from here. I'm going to measure my hip divided by 10 for the back, and I'm going to impute here. What I had was 4.5, and I'm going to be making an extension like this. Okay, so after doing this, I'm going to come here and come out by half of an inch. Okay, this is to enable me make a perfect curve around the crouch area. So on this part here, you're not simply going to connect it to make a curve to meet to this part. There's a way you can blend it to meet to this line here. So watch what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm going to take my curve and blend to meet to the half inch that I came out with. Okay, so just make a curve like this, and also connect it back to meet to the crouch line. Okay, like this. Very easy, guys. So from here, I'm going to be connecting it to meet to the length. Okay, make a curve to meet to the length like this. So basically I am done with the marking of this pattern. All right, so I'm going to be using my tracing wheel now to trace to another pattern paper. Because I marked both front and the back on one pattern paper, I'm going to trace the back and the front. It is very easy to do this. So but if you want to understand better, go and watch that my tutorial on trouser. Now this is a skirt panel. Okay, I'm going to be marking my hip part on this skirt panel. So I have a tutorial on how to cut a basic skirt. You can go and check it out. So what I'm marking here is that from the waist part, I'm going to come down by 14 inches 15 inches, sorry, which happens to be my butt crack measurement. So I'm going to repeat the same measurements here, and also I'm going to be repeating the same measurements on the center skirt. This is to enable me make a straight line across. Okay, so I'm repeating that same measurement here. I'm going to take my straight tool and connect each of these points into a straight line. Okay, so for this part I'm using my pencil. All right, so next thing I'm going to do now will be now to come to this part now and take my nipple to nipple measurements, and on this hip line I'm going to repeat the nipple to nipple measurement here divided by 2, and I'm going to connect this into a straight line to meet to my waist, as you can see. Okay, now next thing I'm going to do now will be to come down into the butt crack measurements. I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Okay, this is totally optional. If you don't want to do this pattern, you can skip this pattern. It is not necessary for you to come down by 1 inch. You can maintain with your butt crack measurements. You understand what I mean? So for me, I want to come down by 1 inch. This is where my part will end. So from there, and make a point there. And on the waistline, I am going to come also down by 1 inch. Okay, now from this part here, I am going to come in by half of an inch. Okay, this will help me shape, give the tight the shape that I want. Okay, so from here that I came down by 1, I'm going to connect it to this line and also make a connection to this part here. So for now, I'm going to be using my free hand to be doing this, but if you have a French curve that can do this for you, you can also use that. All right, so you can avoid all this cleaning and retracing back. Okay, so I'm simply using my hand to blend this, all right, to give me that perfect curve that I want for my part. Okay, now I'm going to also blend perfectly well, like since as you can see, I have blended that part. I'm going to come here now and blend also to meet to this line here. I'm simply making sure that everything is neat, okay, and perfect. So from here, I'm going to connect using my straight rule to connect it back to the hip line. Okay, this will help my part be curvy. Okay, so now having done this, I am done with the front part. Okay, I am done with marking the front part. As you can see, this is how it is. So for the back part, I am going to be taking my part measurement. So this is the waistline here. So from this part here that I came down by 1 inch, I'm going to repeat that same thing on the back panel, coming down here by 1 inch. Okay, so from here now, I am going to come down on the this hip line. I'm going to be coming in by 1.25. Okay, coming by 1.25. You can do 1.5, you're not wrong. So now after making that measurement, I'm going to be taking my butt crack measurement also on this back panel. Now from my waistline, I'm coming down by 15 inches. That's for my butt crack measurement. I'm simply making a mark across, okay, to help give me a straight line. And I'm now going to use my straight rule to connect the 2 points together like this into a straight line. So next thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to be coming here on this line, go in by 3 inches. The 3 inches I'm going in here will help me when I'm connecting my making my curve, okay, connecting my part together. So from here now, I am going to now come down by 1 inch like I did on the front panel. I'm going to come down by 1 inch like this. So now when I'm connecting this, I'm going to be connecting from here to me to the 3 inches, then to the 1.25, then back to the 1 inch on the waist side. Hope you understand what I'm doing here. So I'm using my free hand now to make this connection, okay, to make this curve. Now I'm going to simply clean and retrace, ensure I get that perfect curve that I want. Okay, now from the 1.5 inches that I'm going to be connecting to, I'm going to also connect it to meet to this 3 inches on this line here. Like I said, the reason why I marked that 3 inches was to serve as a guide. Then from 3 inches, I'm going to connect it back to the 1 inch. As you can see, the back part is almost ready. As you can see here, I'm going to be labeling this as the up, this is the front, and also this is the back, making my, just label it how you will understand yours. Okay, so this is the down part for me, this is the down part for me. So now I forgot to measure here. I'm going to be coming in by 1 inch, okay, half of an inch, sorry. I'm going to be connecting it back to my hip line. Remember what I did for the front, I'm doing the same thing for the back here. So now I'm going to be cutting this out. Okay, please ensure you label your own. If not, guys, you'll be very confused by the time you're transferring this to your phone. Okay, this is the part. I'm making an arrow here to let me know that I'm going to be stitching this part together. So now I'm going to use my tracing wheel to trace this out. This is what the tracing wheel looks like. Okay, I'm going to be tracing this into another pattern paper. All right, so guys, trace this and cut this on the foam. Okay, so this is the front panel that for the short, for the tight that I traced out. This is how it is. I labeled this as the front and the back. As you can see, I have traced this. I did not add any allowance to it, but I'm going to be making an alteration here. So for the front block, I'm going to be coming coming in by 1.5 inch. Okay, simply going to come in by one on the side, on the out seam. Come in by 1.5 inch. Okay, just measure that, take that measurement across, okay, from top to down. And I'm going to use my rule and blend it, connect the points together like this. Okay, just follow what I'm doing here. The reason why I'm doing this is because I'm working with a lycra. I'm going to repeat the same thing for this part. You really must do this. I'm working with a lycra. You have to take this measurement out. You want this tight to be very tight on your body. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the back also. So after doing that, I went ahead to cut this on my fabric. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you how I added my allowances to the to the to the to my fabric. Okay, so this is how I added my allowance. On the crouch line, I added half of an inch. Okay, guys, it's not easy to work with this fabric, it is stretchy. Okay, so on the crouch line, I added half of an inch, and on the inseam, I added half of an inch. Then on the waist, I added half of an inch. For the side, I did not add any allowance. Also, I did the same thing for the back. All right, so I added half of an inch on the inseam, on the crouch, and on the waist, as you can see. So now I'm going to open this up and start sewing. I'm going to pin this, and guys, I also cut this, the front part I cut this for, and the back side I cut this for, because I'm actually going to use one to as a lining. Okay, I'm going to use one as a lining. Hope you understand what I'm doing here. So I'm simply going to work with the fashion fabric for now. I'm going to open this up like this. Okay, I'm going to be sewing, first and foremost, I'm going to be sewing the crouch. Okay, I'm going to be sewing the crouch line like this. I'm going to be using my pin now to pin it down. Okay, you really must pin yours down, working with a stretchy fabric. Okay, so this is too, so that it will help you keep the fabric in place. I'm going to pin it down here, and at the end of the day, I'm going to be sewing this by half of an inch. Okay, for now, since you're sewing on a lycra fabric, please reduce the tension of your machine, and also make a double stitch or even 3 stitches. Okay, whatever stitch you're making, make a double stitch or 3 stitches, because this is really going to be tight. You don't want the stitch to snap or the thread to snap. Okay, make a double stitch or even 3 triple stitches. I hope you understand what I mean here. So I'm going to sew the front, and I'm going to sew the back, and also do the same thing for the lining. Okay, so guys, this is the pad that I cut out. This is the foam that I cut out. Okay, so for this foam, I did not add any allowances. Okay, so guys, I've had this foam for the longest time. Okay, and that is why it's looking, it's bending like this. But for you, if you can get, if you get yours, it will be very flat. Okay, it will be flat and easy to work with. All right, so this is how it is. I did not add any allowances to the side or the center, or any allowances at all. I did not add. Okay, so when you're cutting yours, cut this exactly on what you have on the pattern. So I'm going to be labeling this like I did for the pattern. So this is the up, this is the down. I'm going to make this arrow to let me know that I'm supposed to be stitching this. I'm going to also do this labeling on all the foams. Okay, so when I'm labeling this other part, I'm not going to, like, it's just like you're cutting your fabric. I'm going to label this back part. Okay, I'm not, if not, if you label it wrongly, you're going to be having both left and right. Okay, I hope you understand what I mean here. All right, so I'm going to be doing the same thing for this back. I'm going to be labeling this as up and label this as back and down. This is just to serve as a guide for me. So turn this over and label this part. Guys, if you're labeling, follow what I'm doing here. Watch this video carefully and follow what I'm doing here, so that you do the right thing. Okay, so making an arrow here to show, to let me know that I'm supposed to be stitching that part. Now I'm going to put this pattern paper away. Okay, after labeling this, I don't need the pattern paper anymore. I'm going to be working directly with this foam. Okay, so now, I'm going to be marking this side here, I'm going to be marking that part there, the part I'm not going to stitch together. Come in by 1 inch. I'm going to come in by 1 inch. You can also come in by 1.5 inch, all right, or 1.25. So the reason why I'm doing this is to serve as a guide, because I'm going to be trimming this foam. It's not going to be like this. I'm going to trim it. So watch as I'm doing it. I'm repeating the same measurement on this part here. You see that part that I labeled? That is the part you're going to be marking. Okay, hope you understand what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to be taking my scissors and I'm going to trim. I'm going to trim. This is how it is. I'm going to just trim it. Make sure that it is flat. You want it very flat as possible. You want it very, very flat. Okay, you don't want it to be puffing out after sewing on your tights, because it will be showing on after wearing it, to be showing on your fabric, trust me. All right, you want it very flat. Now trim this very, very flat as I'm doing here. Trim it. You can come in by 1.5 also and trim it, just trim it perfectly. Okay, ensure it is flat enough. As you can see me doing here, I am making sure that I'm making sure it is very flat. As you can see, just trim and trim and trim. So after trimming, this is what I have. This is how it's looking. I'm going to do the same thing for other parts. Okay, this is how it is. This is how it is, guys. Have you seen? If you can even make yours flatter than this. Okay, you can make yours flatter than this, guys. So I'm going to do the same thing for other parts. This is how after I was done, this is how it is. This is the back and this is the front. Okay, I have trimmed all the parts. Okay, I've trimmed all the sides. Now this is how I'm going to be stitching this front and the back together. This is how I'm going to stitch this together. Place it like this. Ensure everything is in place, and I'm going to be stitching this. But before stitching, I'm going to be lining this up. Okay, I'm going to be using my air stay to fusible interfacing. I'm going to be using my fusible interfacing to line this up. Okay, all right, as you can see, I'm going to line this other part. After lining this up, this is what I had. This is what I had. This is how it's looking. We're going to line this up also, because you don't want your foam, you don't want to sew exact directly on your foam. All right, so after that, this is what I had. It has become neat. I'm going to be making a stitch here. All right, so I was done sewing this, and this is what I have. I stitched the crouch area like I said. I'm going to open this up for you guys to see. This is the waist part, and this is what I have. I stitched both the front and the back. I also stitched the lining. Now I'm going to be stitching the side now. Okay, I'm placing the front on the back, right sides facing each other. I used my pin all around, and I'm going to stitch here by 1/2 inch. I'm going to do the same thing for the lining also. Now this is what I have after I was done sewing. Okay, you don't necessarily need to iron this. You're working with with a lycra fabric. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do now would be to measure the tie. Okay, I'm going to take one part and measure the tie. Open this up, take my tape rule and measure the tie. All right, so whatever I have, I'm going to be cutting my chantilly lace. Okay, so this is what I'm measuring here. This is the tie I'm measuring. So this is to enable me cut my chantilly lace. Okay, I'm going to make a fold my chantilly lace like this. I want to cut a long strip of 2 inches on one part, and the other part also 2 inches on each of the parts. Each of the tie going to be cutting 2 inches. Then after sewing, I'm going to be having 1.5 inch. All right, so for this part also, you can be creative about it. You can cut whatever, be it 1 inch you want. At the end of the day, it is totally fine by you, depends on what you want. So I'm cutting this. I folded this by 2 to folded this 4 inches. Okay, I'm cutting this through. Now I'm going to cut this out again. I folded this into two and measured 4 inches. Like I said, I want to cut 2 inches. All right, so next thing I'm going to do now is that I am going to be measuring this, and what I have is is much. Okay, what I have here for the measurement is okay for my each of the thigh measurements. So I'm going to cut this through. I'm going to cut this out. All right, so I'm going to use one part for one leg and the other part for the other leg. I hope you understand what I mean here. So I'm going to be folding this chantilly lace into two like this, and I'm going to be placing it on right sides, facing the right sides of the chantilly lace. I hope you understand what I'm doing here. So I'm going to now use my pin now to pin it down. All right, to show you guys, going to use my pin to pin it down. I place the chantilly lace on the right side of the fabric. Okay, now after pinning this down, I am going to do the same thing for the other parts, and also I'm going to be sewing this down by 1/2 inch. Okay, so guys, this is how it is after I was done sewing. This is what I have stitched my chantilly lace. So take note that I did not stitch at the beginning part. Okay, I left some inches and made a top stitch. As you can see the part I'm removing my pin. I did not stitch that part. All right, so what I'm going to do for this part is that I'm going to be stitching the chantilly lace to the chantilly lace. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this pin like this and show you guys what I'm going to do next. I'm going to open this up and open this up also, and close it up using right sides facing each other, and I'm going to be stitching by 1/2 inch. Hope you understand what I'm doing. So the idea here is that I don't want any seams to be shown outside. That is why I am taking all this step. I need to sew this to meet up the international standard. I hope you understand my point here. So I'm going to be doing the same thing for this part. Open this up, open the chantilly lace. Okay, close it using right sides facing each other. Place it like this. I'm going to use my pin to pin it because I'm going to be sewing here by 1/2 inch. So after doing this, I'm going to do the same thing for this part also. Now I'm going to put this away and bring the lining. Okay, now I'm going to be matching the lining like this, the inseam, going to match it together like this. You make sure to match the seam together where you made your stitch, match it together and use your pin like this. I'm going to simply use my pin around. Okay, now after doing this, I'm going to be sewing this part by 1/2 inch. All right, I'm going to be closing here by 1/2 inch. So after I was done, this is what I have. The part, the chantilly lace, I've closed it. This is what I have. This is how it's looking. Okay, so now I'm going to be closing the inseam also. So I'm going to match the right sides facing each other. I'm going to match it together and close it. All right, after closing, this is what I had. All right, this is how it is now. Going to pin this together, pin this down. Okay, see the part that I sewn on my chantilly lace. I pinned it and I made a stitch around. Okay, now this is my band. This is what I have. So you just cut your band, measure your waist measurement and cut your band. So I'm going to go and stitch the chantilly lace and show you guys. So this is it. I have stitched the chantilly lace. This is how it is. Okay, this is the waist part that I'm going to be fixing my band. And now I am going to be matching the lining, turning the lining to the chantilly lace. And to do that, I'm going to place the wrong side. The wrong side is facing me for the fashion fabric. The fashion fabric is the one I have the chantilly lace, and I'm placing the lining also like I placed the fashion fabric. Right sides facing, wrong sides facing me, and the front facing me. and I'm going to be pinning the down part like this. So guys, I want to turn this down part. Okay, so I'm pinning on the seam. I'm pinning exactly on the seam. Okay, and I'm going to make a stitch right exactly on the part I stitch the chantilly lace on the tights. Okay, I'm going to be making a stitch there and do the same thing for here. So this is how it is. I have pinned this down. Okay, this is what I have here. Remember, I'm going to be making a stitch, all right, a knit stitch. So after making that stitch, this is what I have here. This is what I have here. It is very easy to do, guys. Just follow this video step by step. So I'm going to turn this over for you to see. So this is what I have now, all right. It is looking very neat and tied and looking very neat. Now I'm going to be fixing the foam here. I'm going to be padding it now. So for the front, I've stitched the foam right sides facing each other. This is what I have here. So I'm going to keep, this is the front of the front tight facing me. Okay, this is the front facing me now. I'm going to remove it back, turn this back, okay, because I'm going to be fixing the foam on the wrong side. And for the waist part, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and also half inch for stitching this. Remember, when we're cutting this, we came down by 1 inch, and you're going to add half inch because you will stitch your band to your tights. Okay, so I'm simply repeating the measurements on the back side also. All right, so after doing this, I am going to be placing my pad on that part that I marked. Okay, so I'm going to be placing my pad there. We are working, this is the front that is facing me, the front tight is facing me. I'm opening the seams up like this, and I'm simply marking this here. Okay, so now I'm going to place the front tight also on the front of the tight. I hope you understand what I'm doing here. Okay, as you can see, this is the front part. The front is facing the front and the back is facing the back tight. Hope you understand. So I'm simply using my pin now to pin this down. So as you're pinning, ensure it is not twisted. The tight is not twisted. Okay, ensure your fabric is not twisted. Okay, so I'm simply using my hand to ensure it is not twisted underneath. Okay, hope you understand what I'm doing here. Just follow this video, you understand every bit of it. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the back. I'm using my hand to make sure it doesn't come out twisted or the fabric is not folding. Okay, so now I'm using my pin now to simply pin this all around. Now I'm going to take my needle and thread and I'm going to be stitching this using my hand. I'm going to be tagging this using my hand. So after tagging, this is what I have. I did for these other parts too. Okay, I tag this all around. You want to tag it very neat. Okay, tag it very neat. This is what I have, guys. It is looking very beautiful already. Now I'm going to turn this back for you guys to see. This is what I have here. At this point, guys, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please do well to click the subscribe button. Turn on your post notification bell for more videos. Like and share this video if it is helpful so that others can get to see. Thank you so much. Okay, so now I am going to be stitching the waist, my band. Okay, this is the inside. This is how it is. I don't know if you guys can see. It is looking very neat. The seam is not shown outside. Okay, so now I'm going to be fixing my band here off camera. For the sake of time, this video was becoming too long. Thank you so much for sticking around with me. See you guys in my next one.